I cut the check, I cut the check, I cut the check. Tell my niggas we up next, oh we up next. She shot a text, she shot a text, she shot a text. Kill the I might put the different day, put a nigga on that same shit. I've been ballin' with my niggas, Kevin Cambridge. Oh, you drippy, but you better tuck your chain quick.
What's good, y'all? We back with another episode of Between the Lines, man. Today I want to talk about a specific team and also a specific player because I might as well just get straight into it. Going into the season, a lot of people had Damian Lillard as an MVP candidate, and that's true. And I was one of those people because when you look at this team from the eye, looking at it from the eye standpoint, they had Robert Covington. They have Robert Covington. They have what's his name? Derrick Jones Jr. So that's two guards. That's two wings that can defend literally 1 through 4, and sometimes that can defend 5. Like Robert Covington, it was a period of time last year where he was defending 5s. Like it was one game, he had like 3 blocks on the Lakers. Like he was actually playing a 5 on the Rockets last year. So they brought in 2 great wing defenders, and that's something they needed ever since they lost Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless when they made that deep playoff run a couple years ago. And they lost some players. Now they got 2 players that are obvious. They're obviously better than those players. And I just expected this team to be way better than it is. I expected Dame to just have a really good season. And he started off having a really good season. Actually, it wasn't just Dame. CJ started off really on some shit. CJ started off on some shit, and then he got injured, but then Dame just took over. And he had a period of 2 months where he was just going crazy. And he was definitely an MVP candidate. But the thing that was worrying me, the thing that was scaring me about this team was they were getting carried by Dame too much. The defense is trash. Even though they were really good, they were a third or fourth seed in the West. The defense was trash, and that's something that I didn't expect to happen because I'm you have these 2 wings, and the last time they had really good wings, they were a really good team, and they were really good in the beginning of the season, but then the defense was just trash, and that's a part of the coaching, which I will talk about later on. That's part of the coaching, and the personnel is just not just there. Like I said, they do have really decent wings, and Robert Covington, Derrick Jones Jr., and at that time they even had Gary Trent Jr. But when you look at the post defense, you got Yusuf Nurkic, who's a decent defender, I would say, and you got Enes Kanter, which his only knock in his game is he's a terrible defender. And then you just look at it; they don't really have no really good defenders off the bench. So this team just lacking real lockdown perimeter defenders. They only have Robert Covington. Like I said, Gary Trent's cool on defense. Even Derrick Jones Jr., I'm not gonna say here and out he's a god on defense. He's okay on defense. He's long. That's what really helps him. He's long as hell, really explosive. He can get up there and block those shots. So their defense was lacking, and they were only winning games by every game they played was a close game. And the reason why they won this game because they will have Damian Lillard, one of the best clutch players we've seen in a long time. So when Damian Lillard got hurt, that's when this team started to fall. They lost Damian Lillard, but at that same time they also gained CJ back, and they also gained Yusuf Nurkic back. And when they lost Damian Lillard, they couldn't close games, and they started losing. They started falling in the rankings. Right now, I think they're a 7 seed. Like I said, they were just a 3rd or 4th seed a couple months ago. And you look at this team, they're underachieving. They're really underachieving because even though when Dame came back, you can kind of see he's not looking as consistent as he usually looks. And hey, maybe he's playing on an injury. If he's playing on an injury, I think he should just sit. He should sit because even if they plan to play in games, they're still going to make the playoffs. They should. Because the Grizzlies on some shit. I'm going to talk about them too. The Grizzlies on some shit. But they should make the playoffs. If I'm him, I'm sitting to rest and get healthy, which he really needs to do. Because they can't have no injured Dame in the playoffs again. They had it last year, and they won 1 game, and then they lost the rest. But, the thing about this Trailblazers team is just don't have no post defense. Their perimeter defense is okay. It might be time to get rid of CJ. And the reason why I say CJ instead of Dame is they're not going to get rid of Dame. They can definitely get way more for Dame, but they're not going to get rid of Dame. That's getting rid of a superstar player. it might be time to get rid of CJ. It's just that backcourt. Like, it's definitely a ceiling on having a backcourt that's under 6'3". Like, I even say that with my Cavs. Like, I love the way Darius Garland and Colin Sexton are looking in their second year playing together. But I definitely know it's a ceiling with those two players playing together. And those are two of my favorite players in the league. I definitely know it's a ceiling with them too. So, my hope for my Cavs is we make that decision early. Like, the Blazers, they're gonna keep this until the wheels fall off. Like, I don't see them trading CJ, because if they did, they should have traded him a couple years ago. Right after that Western Conference Finals loss, where y'all lost to, while y'all got swept to the Warriors with no KD, CJ should have been gone. And I don't mean to like keep saying CJ's name, but he obviously is the worst player out of these two, and he can still get you a really good wing. But I feel like this season, even if they don't make the playoffs, or if they had another first round exit, they gotta trade CJ, especially while his value is high, because CJ's having a really good season. They gotta trade CJ. And then another thing they have to do is, well, first of all, before I talk about the coach, that Gary Trent Jr. and Norman Powell deal is looking terrible, because yes, they were both on 1-year deals, and they both are, I want to say, restricted. I think actually Norman Powell's unrestricted free agent, so he can go wherever he wants. But I don't know, I think they're restricted. You're gonna have to pay Norman Powell a lot of money, because Norman Powell's going to get his money. He's going to get $20 million. Norman Powell is nice. And the fit with this Blazers team is just, it don't work. It don't work because Norman Powell on the Raptors, the thing I love about the Raptors is they don't have a real number one option. So really, anybody can go out there and get theirs. I've seen nights where OG Anunoby leads them scoring. Pascal Siakam, Robert Covington, Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry, Norman Powell. Like, they'll have different nights where a person leads them in scoring. On this Blazers team is only Dame and CJ. You're not scoring more than Dame and CJ. And they're kind of using him as a spot-up shooter, which he is good at. But that's not him. He can do way more than that. And it's kind of holding him back, but he can act like, when it comes to free agency, a lot of teams is looking at January through March, when he was averaging like 25 points on the Raptors. A lot of teams are going to look at that now. A lot of teams are going to give him money, because they want that on their team. Like the Memphis Grizzlies, you put Norman Powell next to John Morant, that's a really nice backcourt. Really nice backcourt. A lot of teams going to offer him money, so it's going to be hard to keep him. And I feel like it would have been easier to keep Gary Trent. Yes, he's going to get his money. He's going to get $18 million, and you have a decision if you want to match it or not. I would match it because he actually fits better with the team. He's a better shooter, better defender. But now they don't have him. They traded him. And I don't know. The fit just doesn't look the same. They're better off with Gary Trent Jr. Not saying that Norman Powell is worse than Gary Trent Jr. They're pretty much even. It's not like Norman Powell's skyrocketing over Gary Trent Jr. Like, y'all see what Gary Trent Jr. is doing on the Raptors. He's looking really decent. And I hope they keep him, because I would love him to get that starting role after they trade Kyle Lowry. And actually, no, I think Kyle Lowry's a free agent this year. Yeah, after Kyle Lowry leaves or he gets traded, whatever happens, I would love them to have a backcourt of Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. It would be really exciting. But now it's to the coach. Terry Stotts has been on, like, he should have been fired a long time ago. I ain't gonna lie. If you just look at like Blazers Twitter, Blazers Instagram, I'm not talking about like their Instagram, like I'm talking about their fan base. They don't want Terry Stotts. They've been talking about Terry Stotts for like a couple years now. He's a good enough coach to get you to the playoffs. I'll give him that. I ain't gonna shit on him that bad. He's a good enough coach to get you to the playoffs. But when it comes to winning in the playoffs, you're not really doing nothing. Not really doing nothing. And they just make dumb decisions like last night. I don't want to act like I watched the whole game. I watched some of it. But I heard like they were about to have a 5 seconds rule. They couldn't get the ball in, and Terry Stotts was just sitting there staring. When he had 2 timeouts. Just call a timeout. And then they forced a turnover. Now they have a turnover. And it was late game. They were actually coming back in the game. And they forced a turnover by not calling a timeout. Now, mind you, the players could have called a timeout, yes. But you're a coach. That's your job. Those are your timeouts. That's your job. So, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, he just has to get out of there, man. He's just not a good enough coach. Especially with this team. This team should not be underachieving like they are. And, yes, they are a team that's heavily impacted by injuries. But even with injuries, this team just loses a lot of close games. And they're just not as good as advertised. Like I said, I expected them to be a high seed, like 3 or something. And because mostly that was on Damian Lillard. I was like, all right, seeing what he did in the bubble, knowing what type of person and what type of player Damian Lillard is, he's not gonna let the team fall for nothing. He's not gonna let them fall. And he got hurt. CJ got hurt. So that's kind of hard on Terry Stotts. But like, man, this team's not supposed to be this bad. Like, they're in the playing game. Let's see what happens. I don't see them getting back over the Mavericks. The Mavericks they're kind of hitting their stride. They're kind of looking really good right now. So I don't see them getting way better than the Mavericks at all. So the Mavericks are a 6 seed. The Trailblazers are a 7 seed. So they're in the playing game as of right now. So as of right now, they will have to play. Let's say the playoffs. Let's say the season stopped right now. They will have to play the Grizzlies, a team that just beat them twice. They will have to play the Grizzlies. And like I said, I might take the Grizzlies. The one thing you gotta love about Ja Morant that separates him from everybody in his draft class is he's gonna win games no matter what. He wins games. He's a leader. He came into this team was automatically the leader, the best player on this team. Led them to the playoffs last year, even though they didn't make it. They weren't even supposed to be that close to the playoffs. And Ja Morant led them that close to the playoffs last year. And now they're in it again in the stacked West. And if they didn't have no playing game, they would have been in the playoffs. They definitely would have been in the playoffs. I said, if the season was to end right now, they would have to play the Blazers. And I might pick the Blazers. Like I said, Ja, he wins games. And I might pick the Grizzlies because Ja wins games. And this Grizzlies team, they're deep. They're deep. Like, if you look at their team right now, literally everybody should get minutes. Dylan Brooks, 3-and-D wing, great player. Kyle Anderson. I don't know what Kyle Anderson is. I'm going to be honest with you. Kyle Anderson just gets buckets, but it's like mad slow. Gets rebounds. He's like a perfect player for this team. Jonas Valanciunas, probably the most underrated center in the league. Walking double-double. Great post offense. Really good player. Ja Morant, you already know who he is. Grayson Allen, shooter, defender. Brandon Clark, shooter, defender. D'Anthony Melton, shooter, defender. Desmond Bain, shooter, defender. Is that Xavier Tillman? Shooter, defender. Justice Winslow, playmaker off the bench. Helps the team out a lot. They didn't even have Triple J last night. Triple J, I'm happy that he actually came back from his injury. Congrats to him. But he I guess he was out yesterday with a rest. Cause I think they did play back-to-back games. Yeah, he was out for rest. So this team is just so deep with just players that need minutes. And they're really young. Like, I love this team, bro. I love this team. What they need to go get is a solidified 2. Like I said, I would really love if they was able to get Norman Powell. That would be a nice fit with this team. But yeah, I love this team, man. And if the season was to end right today, and in the playing games they would have to play the Trailblazers, I would pick the Grizzlies. And then the Trailblazers will have to play the loser of Spurs versus Warriors. They would have to play the winners of Spurs versus Warriors. Now I'm just gonna go out and say I think the Warriors gonna win that. Nobody's stopping Steph Curry right now. So the Trailblazers will have to play the Warriors in a 1-game series. I'm picking Steph Curry in that series. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm picking Steph Curry. And like I said, I'm picking Steph Curry. I'm not picking the Warriors. I'm picking Steph Curry. Because he will go out there and win that bitch by himself. And look, if then the Warriors will be the 8th seed. That would be crazy. Because whoever won that 7 versus 8, so the Trailblazers versus Grizzlies, if the Grizzlies or the Trailblazers will win, they will be a 7th seed. And then Spurs versus Warriors, whoever wins that game, face the loser of the first game. And then whoever wins that game, they're the 8th seed. So like I said, I expect the Grizzlies and the Warriors to come out of that. And the Grizzlies will be the 7th seed, the Warriors will be the 8th seed. As of right now, like I said, if the season was to end right now, the Warriors can beat the Jazz. Because that's a 1 versus 8 matchup. The Warriors can definitely beat the Jazz. But I don't want to get too much off target. But yeah, back to the Trailblazers. They got to make some changes this offseason. And I'm talking like big changes. Like, first, getting a new coach. Second, thinking about trading one of your stars. Because we can say, all right, we're about to get a new coach. We're going to try this out for 1 more year. But how much years are you going to keep trying this out? Like what? How much? So right now, like really, like fire Terry Stotts and trade CJ. Fuck it, if you want to trade Dame, but don't do that. But yeah, trade CJ. But yeah, like I said, I don't know, man. We about to have a really good Like this, the end of the season about to be great because this playing game. I already know the playing game gonna be fun. Like if you look on the East side, the Heat, the Hornets, Pacers, and the Wizards. I feel like that's locked. So that's the playing game on the East side. And you're talking about a Hornets team with hopefully Gordon Hayward come back, LaMelo come back. This Hornets team is hot right now. Versus the Heat, who are playing like trash right now, even though they're 6-4 in their last game, they're still playing like trash, losing games that they shouldn't be losing. That would be a good first game. Then you got the Pacers and the Wizards. They match up pretty well. All star power, and off how the team's looking, I would pick the Wizards. The Wizards on an 8-game winning streak. They're looking really good. They just beat my Cavs yesterday. We're hurt still, but they just beat my Cavs yesterday in a really good game from us and from them. So I'll pick the Pacers. I'll pick the Wizards in that game. Then you'll have probably the Hornets versus the Wizards. Off of experience, I want to pick the Wizards, but the Hornets they're deep too. Miles Bridges been hooping his ass off. Like as soon as Gordon Hayward got hurt, bro, he been hooping his ass off. He trying to get that contract. I know it's a contract year for him. He trying to get that. He want that 18 mil. That's what he want. But hey, man, that's it for this episode, man. That's all I really got to talk about. Shout out to the Knicks, 8-game winning streak. Shout out to the Wizards, another 8-game winning streak. You already know who I'm rocking with in the playoffs. We need that 76ers, Clippers finals. We need that today. We need that. But other than that, that's it for this video. I will talk to you guys later.